Hi, it's Shuriken255 and you already know what this video all about, so let's start. How it all started? Well, it all started on 7th of November 2018. I uploaded second Imitator's collab announcement on YouTube. I was all motivated and ready to face months of hard work, but got a call from my father. He phoned me to wish me a happy birthday, but also read my 2 hours lecture that what I am doing, which is to figure fight animations, is bad, and I should quit it and animate something peaceful instead. It was not the first time of him doing that, and I am trying to don't pay attention on that, but doing this on announcement day had a really hard impact on me. I was not only demotivated but also fell into depression for a few weeks. That's how the Imitator Collab 2 has started. After curing my depression, I started hosting the collab. I created a building plan, story sketch of how and when Imitator moves between rooms, made transition frames between parts, and then started inviting participants into collab. I let participants know that after making first part, they will need to do 3 short segments of animation for second part and walk loops from 2 angles, on which all of them agreed. This time I decided to try something new. If in previous collabs I was making soundline before giving participant a part, this time I gave him a soundline with beeps. The volume of beep determined the power of action. If beep was big, it should be a hard hit, or another kind of hard action. If it is small, it should be a whoosh or might be even skipped. If it's medium, it might be either whoosh or light hit. The idea was to give participants more freedom of choosing what exactly they are going to do rather than limit them with certain sound effect. Also, don't make my effort of making soundline wasted if participants quit too, and also make even more quality soundline afterwards. The idea looked very good on paper, but in reality it was one of the main things that killed the collab. Only few people got it right. Others started doing hit on each mark, making their parts looking way too fast-paced, or started skipping too many important marks. I tried to save the situation and save the most amount of participants' work. I started deep part control, and participants didn't really enjoy it. They had to do a lot of edits, and eventually both participation and hosting turned into hell. Igor, who was also participating, left, which also hit me hard. After most participants finished their first parts, I started hosting second part. Some people started doing storyboards and getting my approval, disapproval on them. Once they've got approval, they could start making actual animation from the storyboard. This way I wanted to get rid of throwing away hours of work of my participants in case if their idea does not match marks in second part. Eventually it all started going really bad. After successfully killing all the fun in the collab, I started losing contact with most of my participants. They just won't reply to my private messages in Discord, so on 9th of May, I made an announcement for participants on which I plead guilty in making this collab hell and tell participants that I need to know if they are going to participate till the end, so I will know if I need to make their parts for them. Those who won't reply until 15th, I will count as people who left. And this was critical point of collab. On 15th of May, I've got reply only from one participant, Hatena360, who offered help in animating parts. After 15th has passed, I also got message from Core Adro, who also offered help with parts. I made a tweet saying, "The Imitator Collab 2 became unbearable tumor. Complexity and deep part control made participation really tough. Now almost all participants scored on it and don't even reply to my PMs. It seems I am either going to abandon the collab or finish all by myself. I haven't decided yet." That was the time when the Imitator Collab 2 was almost abandoned. Props to Hatena and Core Adro for not letting this to happen. In June, my father invited me to live with him, which is another country. I didn't mind because there I will be able to change my lifestyle, which is pretty unhealthy, and learn new things, but I was planning on finishing the collab first. He said that I can work on collab from there too, and what naive of me it was to believe that. I brought my laptop but couldn't work on collab at all. I was always got distracted and there were too many things to do, so one whole month I worked only for nearly 12 hours in total. I remember when I was working on Kix's part and my father came into my room, stood behind me and started watching how I animate, but knowing his attitude to this, I could not work, so I just stopped. After returning back, I was planning on finishing the collab fast, but 2 weeks after I had to depart again. I asked Hatana to host the second part until I return back, so there will be some progress while I can't do anything. On 16th of September, I returned home, met my friends, did some unfinished parts, and on 20th of September, I started working on the collab, full time, with no day offs, until its final release. Even 2.5 hours before release, I was redrawing Smog Effect, and finally, on 7th of November 2019, the collab was released on public. So that was the story of 1 year of painful collapse harassment, and now let's get into fun stuff. Probably what most of you want to know is how I did that 3D background. Well, I made my own 3D renderer in Java and built a background using code, so the background is kinda hard-coded. Also, I used Xagler Java library to create FLV files so I can put them in Flash 8. The main problem that appeared was placing camera in 3D space, the way it will match 2D camera in animation. I solved it by making camera print its coordinates each frame into console, copied text into file, made Java read coordinates from file, and place camera in 3D space using these coordinates. For different angles, I made ability for my renderer to print frame, camera's coordinates, and rotation into console by pressing a button, and then copy-pasted output into array, which was something like sequence of twin points. Once it was done, it was time for me to place background at right place. You see, I started placing camera, so I use my VCam pointer, which camera is coming closer to each frame. This makes camera movement much easier to follow. Auto shakes don't make my task any easier. I could just put video inside camera, but I needed to make masks so some parts of animation won't be visible behind the walls. So, to place background to right place, I made a pretty interesting thing. I made a program in Java that takes control of my mouse and keyboard, made it read the file and copy-paste coordinates from file into position text fields in Flash 8, and switch to next frame once it's done. I left it working for a night and it turned out really well. After that, I had to make masks for both animation and shadows, because shadows make objects look like they are not just put on top of background, but as a part of environment, and this was pain because of these holes. It took me a lot of time to make outlines for them because angle changes every frame and I had to move each corner individually. After reaching passage between Oxub's and Tension Maru's part, I noticed that something is wrong with camera. The video of background was 1 frame behind, and I had to remake it all over. This time I decided to write a feature for renderer that tracks lines positions in 3D space at current camera position and writes their final X and Y position. After that, I copied all this to file and made a program that reads info about lines and draws all these lines in Flash 8. This took quite long for my software to draw all these lines, so I had to put it working all night again. All this time, I was working with 800 on 450 resolution videos, so it was tough for Flash 8 to handle already, but when I switched to Full HD, which is 1920 on 1080, my Flash couldn't handle it, so while rendering, I had to split video each 500 frames and ended up with 7 video files. I decided to split FLA file on 6 parts as well. First FLA file contained 2 videos and next FLA files contained only 1. The reason why I did that is to be sure I don't split movie clips and wreck the animation by start rendering it from the middle while movie clips start from first frame. The glass that you've seen where Imitator flies out of window also added a lot of work because some glass shards had to be on top of Imitator. So in order to do that, I rendered glass shards that are behind Imitator together with video and rendered those shards that are on top of Imitator into full HD PNG sequence. This sequence also gave me a lot of work because every time I tried to do something to the graphic that contained all these PNGs, Flash crashed. This made me put this moment into a separate fluff file and work carefully there instead, trying to don't touch the graphic with PNGs at all. I am trying to don't go deep into all this stuff, but it is even more complicated than I explain it here. Let's talk about music. Long time ago, I suggested CDK to collaborate together on song creation and he agreed. Nearly in April 2018, I started writing rough version of it in mobile version of FL Studio. Then I showed this to CDK, sent him MIDI version of it, and he started making a normal version of it using his plugins. Everything sounded good, but one thing was missing: electric guitar. CDK asked his friend to help out with guitar, but he had to train so he can play it. Eventually he scored on it and CDK suggested to use some other instrument or plugin, on which I replied, either it is going to be electric guitar or this song won't be released. So I started searching for someone who can help us out with recording guitar. I asked Fox if he has anyone who plays guitar, on which he replied, yes, my groupmate does. So I asked him if he can help us out with the guitar. And he really did. So only because of him, we were able to finish our track for the collab. His nickname is Ben Badbury, link on him is in description. I can't really say if I like this collab or not, but I'm pretty proud that I could get it finished, even if it was insanely hard. But seeing that you guys enjoy it really much is what really makes me happy. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this story about collab interesting, and see you later.